Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatewitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Men, are you having performance issues in the bedroom? Is erectile dysfunction affecting your confidence and self-esteem? Is your relationship being impacted? If ED is a problem in your life, maybe it's time to make the last time you had bad sex the last time you'll have bad sex. At the Huntsville Men's Clinic, we've successfully treated many men in the area for ED and given them back their confidence, their positivity, and in many cases, helped their relationships. Our expertise is second to none, and our practice is staffed by quality medical professionals. Beyond this, the treatments we use have proven success rates as high as 90%. And unlike online pharmacies that just sell pills or wave clinics that only offer one treatment option, we have a variety of treatment protocols, including acoustic wave therapy. We found that sometimes a combination of therapies works best, and a one-size-fits-all approach can't get you there. So make the call. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. Call 256-368-0333 or go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, presented by Johnsonville on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app.
Without the Black Panther, Wakanda will fall.
This is Paul Feinbaum. That'll do it for me today. Coming up next, The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Away we go on a Wednesday. A Wednesday? No, a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday live here at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Happy to have you along here on a Tuesday. In fact, we're an hour away from the very first college football playoff rankings revealed. We'll carry that live for you here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We'll also get some instant reaction, formerly of ESPN and ESPN.com. Brad Edwards going to join us to help break down the first impressions of what we are all going to see coming up in an hour's time. Later on here in hour number one, basketball season, believe it or not, Wes, basketball season. About to tip it up tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow I'll be on the plains as UAH getting ready to take on Auburn coming up tomorrow. And also, there is a new administration down in Montevallo. Let me pause everything. There is new administration. Is that good? Yeah? Okay. New administration at Montevallo, and we're going to talk to their new head coach coming up later on here in hour number 1. But here in about 10 minutes' time, we will start things off with Coach Jack Crow. I think it's appropriate that we talk to Coach. How are you, Wes?
Doing good.
Good.
You going to see Dion tomorrow?
I'll be on the search for Coach Prime.
I guess it is November. Woo.
Yeah.
November 2nd? Already?
Tomorrow, November 2nd.
It's awful early for a basketball game.
Well, here's
Does anybody watch what's their NBA ratings right now? Did anybody watch them? You know what I'm saying?
I don't have them handy, but
yeah, I'm just interested.
I know the Hawks got out to a 4-1 start, but they have lost a couple of games in a row, and they're kind of reeling back to those Hawks that I know and love.
Well, they only got 90 more games.
Yeah.
How many did they play? 86?
86.
86. Yeah, so they only got 80 more games. That could happen.
So,
we went to a basketball game last January. That was really fun. I enjoyed that. Scott got us tickets, I think.
Yeah.
Up in Indianapolis.
That's right.
And
That's right.
That ended up being a decent team for
it was
the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Pacers
enjoyed
game.
that. That was interesting to watch. Yeah. But you could tell they knew they had a lot of games left. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's also a big week. We've got two. It feels like this is semifinal Saturday coming up in the Southeastern Conference with LSU and Alabama on the west and Tennessee and Georgia on the east. So much so that Wes DVRs PTI every day and watches it every day because he knows.
I cannot believe people watch that.
They broke down the Tennessee-Georgia game today. All right, I know you're excited to hear this. Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon.
Toss-up for which team is Saturday's game more important? Number 2, Tennessee, or number 1, Georgia?
Stick with me on this because it gets complicated, okay? Right. I think it's more important, Mike, for Georgia. If Tennessee's already got the best win of the year. Tennessee beat Alabama. So if Tennessee loses here, Alabama has one loss. Well, head-to-head, Tennessee beat them, so I think they'd be in a better position to get to the playoffs. Georgia, if they lose this game, they can't get to the SEC championship, so they cannot redeem their one loss. If Georgia wins this game, they've beaten Tennessee, they've beaten Oregon, they'll be undefeated going into at least a clear path to the SEC championship. And if they lose there with their one loss, they might still get in to the playoffs. In fact, it seems reasonable to me that if Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia all have one loss, which is possible, they'll go into playoffs with the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson and TCU can pound sand.
All right, that's very nice. The question was, which one is it more important for? Let me ask you just a real simple question. I'll keep it simple. Yours was complex. Do both these teams have a legitimate shot to win the national championship?
If they're undefeated, yes. Sure.
They each, from where we sit today, going into this game, have a chance. Okay. So it's not more important for either one of them. I reject the construct.
Well, that's not playing the game.
I reject the construct.
You push.
It's important for both of them equally, and you cannot build a case. You're looking at the rest of the schedule, not the game.
Right.
Nice try. I reject that, too.
You didn't play the game. You didn't play it.
Yeah, so I think you listened to what I said yesterday, right?
That's why I played it, because I heard a lot.
Listened to the show.
Yeah, I heard a lot. Mr. Tony, clearly a fan of Wes Neighbors. Clearly.
That scared me. I thought like that.
I thought I'd get that reaction. That's exactly why I wanted to play it.
I kind of agree with the other guy, too. It's
equally important. Yeah.
But if whoever loses, still Tennessee has a better shot. if they lose. But if you win, you don't have to worry about it. So it's equally as important. I have to kind of agree with both of them, which really makes me kind of sick at my stomach. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Let's squeeze in Gary before our first time out, and we'll talk to Coach Crow coming up here momentarily. How are you, Gary?
Hey, I'm doing fine. I just got a quick question for you guys. I'm a Tennessee fan, but what in the world was Tennessee doing leaving Hooker in the game in the fourth quarter? It's like 12 minutes, and they were up 37-6. I remember that Bama left Brody Kroll in the game in a similar situation. They lost him for the rest of the season.
I don't think that was Brody Kroll. I think that was Prothro.
Okay.
That was a receiver, Prothro, against
in the
Florida
game.
Yeah.
I thought they'd lost one of their quarterbacks against Western Carolina one year. They were up by a bunch. Okay.
But, that's a weird deal. There's a fine line between not playing them and playing them in what situations. Now, did they ever put in the second-string quarterback?
Yes, they did.
I thought so at the end, right?
Yeah, in fact, he chucked it into the end zone against UT Martin. Are you talking about the Kentucky game?
Yeah, well, I think he's talking about Kentucky.
Okay.
Kentucky game's what I was talking about.
Yep.
So I'm not, I didn't watch the whole game, unfortunately. I wasn't able to watch it. But I went back and watched the highlights to kind of get a feel for the game. And a lot of people don't want to break their mojo. I mean, they want to get work. They want to, and I don't know if it was how much time was left when they were still in the game. It's still in the fourth quarter.
7.
I know it was 12 minutes and some seconds left when I know.
Yeah.
They played after.
So I'm sure they had a plan. So what they do is there's supposed to be a plan for everything, and they go over the plan. And they're not going to put the reserves in this game till 7 minutes left if they're up so much. They always have a plan, and I bet it was on the borderline of that plan. A lot of times it takes a lot to change teams, more than people think. And those guys run out there, and it ain't like you can bring them back really quick when you change teams. So it has to be a concerted effort. And I know that Kentucky, the score wasn't indicative to me of the whole game. I mean, Kentucky had chances. I mean, the way Tennessee's defense played was awesome. I'm not, the score was the score, and Tennessee's getting better. Tennessee's getting better every week.
Yes, they are.
But what I'm saying is Kentucky had chances early, and during the second half they turned the ball over 3 times. And Kentucky's a good team. So with 12 minutes left, you don't want to take any chances whatsoever to give them any momentum, throw it a pick 6 or go 3 and out 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden it's a ball game. So I can we've all seen it happen. And when then it doesn't happen, everybody goes, well, they should have played their other team. Well, I think, depending on the score and what kind of team you're playing, listen, Kentucky's a good football team. They're not a great football team. Nobody claimed they were. They're a good football team, and Tennessee made them look silly at times. So, I think Tennessee has more upsides too. I mean, their defense is getting better.
Yes, they played their best defensive game of the year, I think.
Yeah.
Gary, we are right up against a break. I appreciate the phone call. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. Coach Jack Crow set to join us on the other side. We will be right back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have the state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. All done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop, too. Don't forget our parts department. So you don't have to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Paid for by the committee to elect Sam Gavan, 100 Washington Street, Huntsville, Alabama, 35801.
For the last 4 years, Sam Gavan has been working for you here in Madison County. As a state senator, Sam Gavan has fought to keep taxes low and fought against government expansion. Sam Gavan has also successfully advocated for additional funds for roads and bridges in Huntsville and Madison County. And he's worked with Governor Ivey to bring more jobs and industry to Huntsville. We need Sam Gavan to keep working for us in the state Senate. The failed policies of Joe Biden have led to record inflation and higher prices on everything. We don't need to expand his policies here in Alabama. We need Sam Gavan. He's a conservative who has fought for real-world solutions to protect the families of Madison County. Sam Gavan has also worked with Governor Ivey to fight back against the bad policies of the Biden administration. And Sam Gavan will always fight for us. Vote to keep Sam Gavan working for us. On November 8th, vote Sam Gavan for State Senate.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to believe it or not, the holidays are upon us. It is time to start thinking about the important things like, hey, what's on the menu this year? It is time to pre-order your honey glazed ham or turkey from Apple Lane. Let's get honey glazed for the holidays and make the holidays even sweeter with our award-winning banana pudding.
That's right.
Let us help make this year's holiday just so much easier. Apple Lane, come see us in Decatur, Alabama on the Beltline.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet & Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet & Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at WoodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
Back here at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill, roughly 45 minutes away from Pedro's Authentic Mexican Feast to open up. Come on by. We're also 45 minutes away from the first college football ranking of the season. The simulated BCS standings looks like this: Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Tennessee 3, Michigan 4. The first 2 teams outside looking in, Clemson and Alabama. TCU, incidentally, number 7 in the latest simulated BCS rankings. We'll see how that compares with the first college football playoff poll. And as we head out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, a lot going on down on the plains, but a lot in college football going on overall. Got a lot to talk about with Coach Jack Crow. How are you, Coach?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Your reaction to Brian Harsin being shown the door, Coach?
I think we all knew it was coming. It probably was decided a while back. He may have never gotten a chance to begin with, honestly. I'm not sure all believed in him and supported him when he got there. That's the sad thing for coaching. And I do look at it, as a coach, and all of us in the coaching profession identify, with every other coach. So in that way, I wish they had supported him better, honestly. But wasn't a fit. Everybody, I think, probably recognized that. I bet he did too. Probably relieved, and he'll get a coaching job somewhere and look back and benefit from it. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot of wins going forward.
Yeah. So, Coach, what I'm interested in now that the hammers drop is a couple things. A, how in the world can they let go 5 more coaches? I believe. I never looked really hard into that. These guys are on-field coaches. How in the world do you run a team now? How do you run an offense? How do you get it ready?
You don't. How about that answer? You don't. If the people that put the playbook together aren't there to execute it, the process, that big word, that the process is broken, and it's really not possible to patch it up. There are always people around. You remember this. You got, the GA, the graduate assistant, the analyst. There are some people that know football that are left there, like there are everywhere. It's where the great coaches tomorrow are anyway. You sometimes shocked to hear, well, shoot, he was so and so at so and so. There's some guys down there that can coach, but the process whereby that they can actually analyze and put a game plan together and execute on Saturday, it's impossible.
Yes, so my dad had a saying, today ain't tomorrow.
That's a great one. That's a great one, but it's not possible, and I think Auburn people are looking, quite honestly, at the edge of chaos when they roll out there, because that's where it is. They're at the edge of chaos. Those kids know, too. And what you wonder is, I wish they hadn't have done it like they did it, to be honest with you, because the ones that are going to suffer here now are the guys that sat in the living room and made a commitment to go to Auburn. It's not the way you ought to be treating the kind of people when their moms and dads made a commitment. And it's, that I wouldn't be surprised they didn't fight the way, because I think the people on the other side are going to relax so much that you might just get into sort of a backyard kind of game that might be interesting and be competitive for a little while.
Well,
the other side's going to relax too now.
Yeah, you got to pull for the players, right? They're the ones in the summer. How are you going to GA knows how to develop a player? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to get any better week to week? How are you going to correct your mistake?
West, not. It ain't gonna happen.
I know.
What's going to happen is December 18th is probably on. How many of them are going to leave Auburn and really undermine. How deep the hole is going to be whenever they start all over again. Because you and I both know there's some football players at Auburn now. They're not enough.
Oh yeah.
They probably don't have the key playmakers they need. You can patch that up pretty quick if you can go to the portal. Lane Kiffin has shown that. But if the hole is so deep, you can bring in 14, 15 maybe. You can't bring in 35. And the whole, if they don't, and I guess they look to Cadillac to do that, somebody's going to have to hold the emotional shift together. And I don't know if Chet Williams is still down there, but, whenever he's always been a guy that could, because of his spirituality with those players, guys like that, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
They're just sort of, us against the world, circle of wagons, love Auburn, but it's a different day now. I'll guarantee you there's a lot of FBS Power 5 teams that have sent their GAs in the back room to find out who on that Auburn team we need. They already been targeted.
Yeah,
our next year's team needs a backup something or other. Let's go see if Auburn's got what we need. And those kids are going to start getting that stuff now.
So in the, I guess my next question is totally different. We know who they really the people that with the money people wanted last time, right?
Yeah, pretty obvious.
Now there's NIL and money people. Do they have? I think they have a little bit more power than they had before, which is scary.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
So who's going to really hire this coach? The athletic director, or the guys that are going to give the money to the NIL? That's what I mean. It's a legitimate question.
It's a perfect question. Not legitimate. It is the question. Okay. And here I got one for you. Are you real sure he hadn't already been hired?
No.
You answer that question.
Yeah.
Well, I know why they
people that could have got that done. You know, they could already had that done.
Who do you think is going to be the head coach?
No, shoot, I got no idea. None.
Who would you hire?
The kind of person I'd hire would be just a culture, build it from the bottom kind of guy. But I may be so goddamn ancient that might be ancient. You know, if it's win the press conference, win the portal, you know, let the rest of it find its way. I just don't think like that. So I might be the very worst person because I'd be go find the next Pat Dye, you know, and you know, I don't know if culture means anything anymore. I really think it does. I mean, down at Alabama right now, they're going to fall back on culture. Clemson's going to fall back on culture. Ohio State, Georgia, those people are built from the bottom now. And you start throwing some one-year wonder in front of those folks, they'll beat the hell out of them.
Well, it's interesting to me. You know, so Auburn just spent $37 million, more than that really, because that's just for head coaches.
Yeah, the assistants.
Yeah, and the last two coaches in the last 3 years.
Not to coach.
Not to coach, but to get somebody they're talking about, I don't know about Dion, but Hugh Freeze or Lane Kiffin, they're already making $5 million a year.
Yeah, and they got buyouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're probably impossible for them to be there by December 18th. The hole gets deeper.
Yes.
If they're not there December 1st, their hole gets a lot deeper.
That's true. So, I mean,
possibility of getting those kind of guys December the 1st, slim and none. That's the reason the guy at Carolina Panthers has a certain appeal.
Yeah. So, any chance the defensive coordinator at Miami, who everybody wanted the first time, Kevin Steele, has a shot to get the job?
I would never say never with those guys. I would never say never. It would seem improbable to me.
Yeah, because they're not going to win the press conference there, right?
They're not going to win the press. I mean, the reason they didn't get him hired the last time is because of groundswell of opposition that the president acknowledged. That's the reason they get him hired last time. They did everything they could to get him hired. So.
But I think that back then they were going to get Big Game Bob. Remember all this? They had all these.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they knew they were going to hire Brian Harsin. I think those guys would have called the law. I mean, but I'm not laughing because of Brian Harsin wasn't a fit for Auburn, obviously. That's obvious now. No doubt. And I think he's a good coach, though.
He is a good coach, and he gets back on the other side of the Rocky Mountains of the Mississippi
River. He'll do well, no question.
He'll do well, yeah. It's about fit with Auburn. It's really about fit. Not that it's, that Alabama's about a fit, too, and they got their fit. A lot of schools that are about fit. Auburn's fit though is one that, but their biggest challenge is the sovereignty between the administration and the people that fund the aspects that have to be funded, that have to be private, that they're from the private domain, and it's and don't think for a second they don't have the resources. I mean, they got in this environment they got $11 million in their NIL. With this environment, I mean,
there's no doubt. I mean,
they're NIL.
The big yellow fella was more. I mean, he owns lumber yards from New York to I think all down the East Coast. All the way, yeah, he's in lumber.
I don't even think
if you check,
he hadn't even made his contribution, from what I understand. So
yeah, he's waiting on that. He's waiting on his right coach to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Maybe. I'll say this, Wes. I went down there to 2 football games, and I just went as an obligation. First one was they had the Pat Dye documentary, which I was in it, and Jimmy Rain honored me because he's the one that paid for the production. I told Jimmy he honored me, and it was a great event. And the next time I went down there, it was because of a relationship with some players and people that I'm just really good friends of mine. And I'm going to tell you, to walk into that stadium, packed to the gills, screaming like they were playing for the SEC championship after 7 years of mediocrity, and that's what I'll say they've had the last 7 years, it says one thing: if they get it right, you better watch out.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I mean,
I'm telling you,
because in their mediocrity, they had some flashes in that mediocrity.
Yeah,
they did.
They had a couple of wins against Alabama in that stadium that kept them alive.
Yeah. But I mean, one day, so you look at all the losses Alabama had. And I was thinking about this on the way here today. There's only one where they got beat by more than one score, and that was at Auburn. When they
not real sure that those weren't flukes, but the talent level, it can get there so much quicker than it used to. I mean, I say December 18th again. I mean, the NIL money, I don't think we've seen what a fully deployed transfer portal really looks like. It is, if you got the money, it's stealing.
USC did a pretty good job.
They did the best job. And right behind them, but the pockets weren't deep enough, was Ole Miss. His just didn't have deep enough pockets. Southern Cal, there ain't no bottom to those pockets.
But and I've discussed this last 2 weeks. At what point does that start affecting the team? I.e., Texas A&M. A&M.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think that is to be determined. But you know what a locker room life is like. And when you're sitting there and you got the same uniform on and you got the same sweat beads and how much money, was in your NIL agreement, they really ain't got anything to do with it. And sooner or later, there'll be a hell of a backlash from all of it. But right now, it rules the day.
Well, I think the backlash is already starting. We're watching it play out already at Texas A&M and Miami.
No doubt. I don't think there's any doubt.
The University of Miami also.
Yeah.
I think it's happening down there.
They're still buying recruits.
Yeah. When the money starts being wasted, that's what it's going to be interesting,
Yeah, well, I was with Kurt Jarvis last Saturday.
My man, him and I fought every day.
I know you did. All right. It was like nose to nose, wasn't it?
Yeah. He when he got in his stance, his helmet would tap my helmet. He's all sides every down, by the way.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what. So Kurt and I went through every bit of this because, it was just obvious to me because it wasn't close with you because we knew where you were going. It was close with Kurt now. I mean, I hugged Kurt and, went to Gardendale and, he had a...
Kurt grew up an Auburn fan.
Oh, I know. He was Auburn all the way. And then, he felt like he really still felt like he needed to explain what he did, but we were sitting there drinking beer now. There ain't nothing formal about it. And it was an accident we ended up in the same place. I mean, we didn't have a plan, but it just showed me what emotions were tied to, what it took to go to that locker room. This is my point. What investment there is when you choose for the right reasons. What the reserve of emotions, you had it, Wes, what the reserve of emotions is when you choose a place for the right reasons. And in those moments where you got your guts on the line, it's only that reserve that's going to pull you through. And you don't do that. That will never be done by money. Never.
That's true. That's the truth.
And so, and I think a guy like Nick, he's walking that line. I don't know what's going on everywhere. I when I watch Georgia play, I see some people are playing for Georgia. Wes, I know they've done their own little NIL world, but these people that are going to try to tip the scale. I mean, you got to remember this portal thing's only a year old now.
You're kind of thinking it's going to get worse before it gets better.
It's going to get worse, and you're going to see a Texas A&M itis. And then there's going to be
Texas A&M itis. So
it's going to be like COVID. It's going to spread across a domain, and then there's going to be a backlash back the other way. But
so what's the vaccine, Coach? Or is there a vaccine?
Vaccine is if you don't have a reserve of emotions, you cannot fight to the finish through a whole damn football season. Well, you know this. And that reserve of emotion doesn't happen when you go to the ATM. That's not where the reserve is. The reserve of emotions comes way before that, way before that. And what is an off-season fourth-quarter winter class like now?
The same way as always, but it's horrible. I don't think they go quite as long. We did before my senior year, fourth quarter. By your senior year, it wasn't that bad. They're not screaming and hollering at you as much as they know what you're going to do. We had
over there.
they didn't want you to pull a hammy or anything. So the 37, but we had 37. We counted them. Like for example, if we were going through a practice and it started raining or sprinkling, we'd go back inside, finish the practice, and they wouldn't count it for spring training. We practiced 37 times, and the only reason we stopped is not Kurt Jarvis, but he was agreeable. But Bill Condon raised hell and threatened to turn them in. To turn us in, and that was our last practice.
Well, let me tell you what would it be like today if somebody had that gripe? It'd be on social media. And what if you paid that guy $1 million NIL money? I mean, what kind of gripe you gonna get out of that dude?
Yeah, I believe Connie'd be playing for somebody else. We wouldn't have gone 37 times. I guarantee you that. I mean, but for whatever reason, it just kept raining. I mean, we could be 3/4 of the way to practice and we go in the gym, then they act like it didn't count. It was a rain day. And we were hitting in the gym. We had tennis shoes on. That was the only difference. And we were a little wet.
Crazy. That dang crazy Jimmy Fuller. I know. He's
yeah.
crazy.
Well, he was so much fun. I enjoyed him because he never – I think I'm the only one he never kicked in the ass. I'm pretty sure. I mean, but he couldn't kick very hard. I mean, he wasn't limber enough.
Get up to where your butt
No.
Did not attend a hot yoga class. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he got mad at me one time. So I'm allergic to grass. I literally took shots. Yeah, I break out in hives the whole 9 yards. So one day we're not doing very good, and I go out of the game and practice, and I got my nose starts bleeding. I'm having an allergy attack.
Ooh.
So they start doing really bad when he's not yelling at me. He's like the coach that, when you get official and you turn your back, you start yelling, you don't look at him. That's what he's doing to me. He's yelling at me, but he has his back to me, cussing. I mean, just cussing me out, cussing everybody out because I've had an allergy attack. Couldn't go back in. And the trainer told him I needed to go inside. That was it. But I didn't. I ended up going back. But
who you think's going to be the head coach at all?
Okay. The way I see about what's happening now, I think that Lane Kiffin is possibility, except for what you say. Just the way he's acting about it. I mean, he hadn't come out and said he's not going anywhere. He hadn't said anything. Now, he might be trying to get another raise because we know who's controlling what's going on. And the thing about it is Auburn's going to have to pay $50 million to get whoever they want, right? If they want one of these guys.
Yeah.
The only one I think would be cheaper is Dion because he's not making that much right now. Right.
Let me ask you this, and I have great respect for Dion. Impactfully, y'all there?
Yeah, we're listening. Yeah. We have to turn our mics off. It's loud.
Impactfully, when I was at Clemson, I've never seen an athlete take over a game, and I coach Bo now. I've never seen an athlete take over the game like I saw Dion do at Clemson. And Mickey Andrews, a friend of mine. I've talked to Mickey about him before. He's from another planet, and all that gold chain and all that stuff. His ethics and his work mentality. He's Wes, I don't know if this word means the thing to you, but if you knew me, you know what it means. He's a baller. Man,
he did that in the NFL. They wouldn't throw it near him. Every time they tried to intercept it, took back for a touchdown. A little dance.
He has got enormous football intelligence. So, having said that, I'll give it to you this scenario. The guy they pick has got to be sitting in a living room somewhere in Alabama or Georgia, rural pine trees, and be recruiting against Alabama and Georgia. And that mama look at him and say, why would we go to Auburn? And if that guy can't come with it, if it's about money, if it's about because my name is Dion, or it's because I used to coach in the NFL, if he can't sell Auburn, he won't be there long.
Because everybody else has the other.
Yep.
Everybody else has the other. They can tell you why to go to those goddamn schools and mean it.
Well, Coach,
Tennessee's going to be able to tell that story too. So good luck.
Yeah, Coach, we always appreciate the candor and the insight, and
really enjoyed it, Coach.
Thank you so much for hopping on with us, sir.
Sure. Take care, guys. Thanks for the call.
is Coach Jack Crow. Always really good insight.
No question.
That we get need to get him on more. Let's take our final timeout here in hour number 1. The college football playoff rankings coming up at the top of the hour.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have the state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. All done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So if you don't happen to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
At
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Not a bad way to start off the month of November across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. A partly sunny sky, temperatures climbing into the low and mid 70s, only dropping into the mid and upper 50s through the overnight early into your Wednesday morning. A partly sunny sky through Wednesday afternoon. Once again, temperatures climbing into the mid 70s. We're essentially going to repeat this process as we head into Thursday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Back here at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Believe it or not, it's basketball season. Oh, yeah, it's basketball season. Joining us right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, getting ready to take his squad up to Hilltopper Country, is the brand new head coach for the Falcons of Montevallo's. Head coach Anthony Camara, kind enough to join us. What do you say, Ant? I'm sorry, what do you say, Coach? How are you, sir?
How you doing, Steve? It's great to hear your voice again. It's been too long.
Absolutely, likewise. So tell me a little bit about the transition. What has it been like for you?
Oh, man, it's been pretty wild. No 2 days have been the same at all. My head was spinning from day one, and it still is because there's stuff going on at all times, and it's just been awesome. It's been really good. Everybody at Montevallo has been really, really welcoming. Everybody wants to support and try to help the program be the best it can be, and when you have that, you got a chance to build something special.
So the initial schedule has 2 exhibition games, one against Western Kentucky, the other against Troy. What would you like to get out of these exhibitions to get your squad ready for the regular season, Coach?
Well, that is a fantastic question, and that's one that I talked to the guys about yesterday after practice, and as we lead up into this. Our point is, we don't want this to be our Super Bowl. This is not the Super Bowl. This is just another step, and then Troy is going to be another step just to get us ready to play Tampa next weekend in Huntsville. And the Super Bowl is playing our best at the end of the year. Like that's our goal. And right now, we're just trying to figure out who we are and just try to be the best we can be and try to get the most ready to play when we tip it up against Tampa next weekend. That's what we're working towards right now.
So the first day you were hired, when you sat at your desk, what was your first thought?
I looked up at the whiteboard behind me where I had written the roster up that was returning, and I said, "Oh crap, we better start recruiting." That was the first thing. We
so how do you go about that? I mean, did you already have guys in mind when you got there? I mean, how do you start that process?
Well, I had a few guys that I had in mind, as I was going through the process, just in case you want to be prepared when it does work out. And then you call just about everybody in the business, and you look, and you're all over social media, and you're trying to figure out who hasn't signed and who's in the transfer portal, and you just piece it together day by day. And, I spent hours and hours on the phone and just combing through the transfer portal and trying to figure out who's unsigned. And at the end of the day, we ended up with a full roster, and here we are.
and here you are, Coach. But
it is what it is.
Being in the Gulf South Conference for as many years as you have, what kind of sustainability, for lack of a better term, the level of competition you're going to see game in and game out, and it really feels like on every league, guard play is so critical. Where do you feel like you are guard play-wise entering into the season, Coach?
Well, I think we're in a good spot. I really like our two senior guards we have coming back. They're both in their final year, in their senior year, and James McNeil and Braxton Bertolette. They've both been at Montevallo. They're both going into their third year here, and they played a lot of college basketball. So as a head coach going into his first year, and that being my backcourt, I feel it makes you feel comfortable because they've played in big games. They've played a lot of basketball, and they've seen everything there is to see, so they won't be fazed. And then, after those two, we signed a couple really, really good freshman point guards that we're excited about. And I know there's a learning curve, and there's always going to be a learning curve when you haven't played college basketball yet. But Tyler Moore from Nashville and MJ Jones from Montevallo, and Mason Jones from Tuscaloosa. That's three freshman point guards we have that we're really, really excited about and we're high on. And we can't wait to get them in the mix and throw them into the fire and watch them get better and better every day.
Well, after seeing your offense up here at UAH the last handful of years, can I anticipate a very fast pace for the Falcons?
You know me well enough to know the answer to that question. I don't have a lot of patience to sit there and go slow. So we're going to get up and down. We're going to shoot a bunch of threes, and we're going to run and try to make the game an up tempo game with a lot of possessions, and we want to play an exciting style of basketball, a style of basketball that our fans want to see, and it's a style of basketball our players like to play. So it fits in kind of all facets of the program, and you better believe it. We're going to get up and down that floor.
How many guys do you anticipate playing? I know it changes throughout the year with injuries and other bumps and bruises, but how many guys would you like to play, Coach?
I'd like to play as many as possible, but you get into a game and you find your 6 or 7 that you can really roll with, and the crazy thing is we always have to be ready for foul trouble, for an injury, for anything to happen. And we got to be 9 or 10 deep, and those guys got to be ready to roll. And that's what we preach every day. You just never know when your number's going to be called, and we talk about that all the time. And just doing everything you can do to be as ready as you can be when your number gets called. That's the key. And I tell the guys that was the key with me. As an assistant, I was just getting as ready as I could every single day, thinking like a head coach. And then, out of nowhere, here we are. So if I hadn't been preparing for this for my whole career, then I wouldn't be ready right now.
And away you go. So, I mean, straight into 2 exhibition games, and it feels what you said earlier was so spot on, Coach, because it did remind me of the year that UAH was in the preseason NIT and beat North Texas, and then that season kind of went off the rails a little bit just because of you just beat a Division I squad, and of course that turned around in a very humbling experience against Kansas State. But nonetheless, your point is well taken of how you attack these type of exhibition games, Coach.
Yes, for sure, and we're just it's a constant message. These are really fun games for everybody. It's really cool to get to go play these games, but we are just trying to constantly remind our guys what we're working towards. We're working towards playing Tampa, and then we're working towards playing St. Leo, and then we got West Georgia the week after that. We're right into conference play. So there's not a lot of time to, no matter how this goes, to sit and sulk or to sit and celebrate. We've got to keep looking to the next one because league play starts early this year, and you know as well as I do, every single one of those matters. Every one.
Yes. November 16th, for those scoring at home, is when the Falcons tip it up in conference play. It's mind-boggling to me to think about conference games before Thanksgiving, Coach.
Is it not crazy? And we win 24 league games, so there's not a lot of non-conference matchups going on. We're jumping right in, ready or not. So we've got to approach each day with an unbelievable sense of urgency that we can't waste a day, because that once those conference games start and they start in that second week of the season, it's time. I mean, those count just as much as the ones that in March count or in February.
No doubt. Well, I'm excited to see you up here in Huntsville next weekend when the regular season starts. But I'm excited for you, and it's a pleasure to get you on, Coach.
It's always a pleasure talking with you guys, and you know how much I appreciate you, Steve, and how much I value our time together. It's going to be a lot of fun getting together up in Huntsville next weekend. I can't wait, and I'm excited to see you.
Likewise. Love you, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Love you, too. Y'all have a great night.
That is Coach Anthony Camara joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Just a really cool story with
Yes.
Coach. And they are taking on Coach Stansbury's squad and the Hilltoppers, and that's a formidable foe as well.
7'5" center.
7'5" center.
Good night.
Yeah.
7'5".
7'5" center. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then at Troy Monday before up here in Huntsville next Friday, a week from Friday, taking on Tampa, then St. Leo the following day, and excited to get the season tipped up and going as I'm getting ready to head down to Auburn myself for a exhibition game featuring the Chargers taking on those Auburn Tigers coming up tomorrow night. That's a game that you can hear right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Of course, we're live here at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill, where Pedro's Authentic Mexican Feast open for business, so come on by. A nice crowd out here on the patio. We had Wolverine Dan, Miss Ginger. Old Ginger was out here with Dan.
Yeah.
And we're mere moments away from the college football ranking show cranking up, and Brad Edwards is going to join us in hour number 2 to get his reaction to what we are all about to get in the very first college football playoff rankings. That comes up after this prolonged break with Sports Center, and then we'll be right back.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that, chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Steve Lennox. After a postponement last night, the World Series continues with Game 3 tonight in Philadelphia. Astros and Phillies even at a game apiece after splitting the first 2 games in Houston. Lance McCullers Jr., Ranger Suarez as starting pitchers tonight. First pitch in a little over an hour. Coverage underway right now on other ESPN radio affiliates. Steve Nash is out as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Nets off to a 2-5 start to the season. Home tonight against the Chicago Bulls. Jacques Vaughn will serve as acting head coach. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting today the Nets right now making progress in hiring suspended Celtics head coach Ime Udoka. Chris Canty earlier on ESPN Radio.
I'm not going to believe that this just developed. This had been in the works for some time now, and I think that in part it was the Brooklyn Nets trying to acquiesce to what KD would want in terms of the coaching that would be around him and Kyrie Irving. Now, here's what I will say. Ime Udoka is an upgrade from Steve Nash as far as their coaching abilities.
Chris Canty today on Canty and Carlin. Udoka did serve as an assistant for one season under Nash with the Nets for 2020-21. NFL trade deadline coming and going today. Bills adding running back Naheem Hines from the Indianapolis Colts. The Broncos trading linebacker Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins. Package going to Denver includes a 2023 first-round pick that Miami acquired from the 49ers last year. The Bears in a trade acquiring receiver Chase Claypool from the Steelers for a second-round pick. Vikings acquiring tight end T.J. Hawkinson from the Lions, a 25-year-old, 26 receptions, 3 touchdowns in 7 games so far this season.
Hey, it's Greeny. The Nets have made the move everyone was waiting for, firing coach Steve Nash. Does this mean they can turn their season around and become contenders? We'll talk about it. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
.97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Hey there, folks. Bob Baumhauer here. We're celebrating 40 legendary years here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. And to kick this off, we're coming in hot with our all-new Alabama Hot Chicken. Fresh southern fried chicken breast smothered in a blend of tangy, immune-boosting herbs and spices with a spicy finish. Served up with a side of homemade smoked Gouda cheese grits, Miss Mary southern greens, and garlic bread. And there's plenty more where that came from. Stop in today and celebrate with us. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed precision overhead garage door service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked the reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
New message. Hey, girlfriend, it's Carol from jury duty. We never actually spoke, but I saw you ordered the same hoagie as me at lunch. What are the chances? Anywho, I heard you just got a boat. We should totally grab some hoagies and take it out for a spin.
When you get a boat, you also get new friends. Make sure Progressive's one of them and get coverage today for as little as $100 a year.
Do I want to feel the wind in my hair? Guilty as charged. Oh, seriously, let's ride on your boat.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Alabama A&M University football. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com and view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see ya in a Kia. Go Bulldogs!
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Not a bad way to start off the month of November across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. A partly sunny sky, temperatures climbing into the low and mid-70s, only dropping into the mid and upper 50s through the overnight early into your Wednesday morning. A partly sunny sky through Wednesday afternoon. Once again, temperatures climbing into the mid-70s. We're essentially going to repeat this process as we head into Thursday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Online at 977ESPN.com.
Stream them online.
Call in.
It's an important job, and it's an vital organization.
Tweet in and join in. We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Away we go for hour number 2. I can already tell you there is a 3-loss team in the rankings. Texas, hook 'em, checks in at number 24. We'll get to the rankings here momentarily as soon as we get through talking with Jen. How are you, Jen?
I'm well. How are y'all?
Doing very well.
I'm just proud that y'all made time for me because these rankings are kind of important.
Yes, they are.
Okay, well that means I can't be chatty.
No, you can't be chatty Cathy tonight.
Nope.
And so what do we got going?
Well, lots of things I can't pronounce. I already told you that. And Halloween's over, right? So now everybody's in a Christmas mood.
And so you had an awesome night last night.
Night last night?
Yeah.
We did?
I'm talking about Halloween.
The weekend. Oh, no, last night was not really a big deal. But the weekend was.
Okay.
You know how everybody comes out for the costume contest? And we had 300 people in pouring rain in costumes.
What was the winning costume?
It was that person that had this electronic doll attached to the hip, and the doll, come out and scare you to death.
Yeah.
I thought it was real, like a real person. It was pretty cool. It probably came from Disney World, or one of these engineers kind of did that.
Right.
It looks like something some rocket scientist came up with.
Probably.
Okay, that was fun. So this week, the weather is still nice, so the patio is still open. So we still have Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. And Wednesday night, we have this really big band that I can't pronounce. Josephus and the George Johnstown Massacre, however you say what they are. But I've been told they're pretty big. Did you know that?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes.
Oh, well, you go way back more than I do, but I've heard they're really cool, and everybody should come out on Wednesday night if they're bored to death and want to have a fun show. With some dinner and drinks?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay,
absolutely.
Good. And then the weekend, we have all kinds of good little shows. Our 80s night, we always do 80s, and 80s is fun here on the weekend. So if people are, still in a football mood, they need to come watch some football on Saturday. I think, isn't Alabama playing Saturday?
They are playing number 10 LSU.
Okay, so see, this is the place to watch. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. We're going to, definitely have the game on before any bands. So everybody needs to come watch football. Have some drinks and dinner and all that good stuff.
There you go.
So how's that? Was that a wrap? Am I chatty enough?
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. That was great.
See ya.
Number 9. Southern California Trojans, their only loss, 2-point conversion late, hostile environment at Utah. They're 7-1, and really no test left until they get UCLA and Notre Dame late.
Yeah, I think when we talk Pac-12, the strength of the Pac-12 with USC, UCLA, and Utah being very important to an Oregon team that can they overcome the way they looked in opening weekend against Georgia if they continue to play the way they're playing now.
And at number 8, Oregon. This even in the old system in the Pac-12 with divisions, these two teams potentially could play, but now it's the top 2 teams. SC still has to deal with that loss to Utah, who only has 1 conference loss, but potentially this could be the Pac-12 championship game and maybe keeping both of them in the mix for a spot in the college football playoff. At number 7, TCU. So we saw the Big 12 respect, and we thought maybe the Horned Frogs would be a little higher. That means that one-loss Alabama is ranked ahead of them. Kirk, a quick reaction to TCU being at 7.
That's what I mean. It's only the opening week of these rankings. You could say, who cares? But it says a lot, man. I mean, you guys went right down the list there and talked about the depth of that conference. And we talk on game day every week about whether it's Oklahoma State or Kansas State or TCU or all these teams. So they're very, very competitive. And the committee at this point is not necessarily maybe that impressed. They haven't blown everybody out the way maybe some of the other teams ahead of them have, Joey, but that was one of the teams I think we were excited to see. Would they be behind a one-loss Alabama? And for now, they are.
Later on in the rankings, this would be one that would upset me. This one would bother me.
Okay. Not now. This is early preseason, Joey.
This is the very first one.
Okay.
A lot of things are going to happen from now till then. But for TCU to be ranked behind Alabama with their resume, it ain't like they hadn't played anybody. They went 4 ranked teams, 4 top 25 teams in a row, and then on the road at West Virginia and won that game. I'm going to settle down, let this go by.
But if you think about, okay, so here's what I'm looking at. If I look at TCU, they've been super dominant offensively. Obviously, they've been a little bit leaky defensively, but they've done everything they've needed to do up until this point to win. They got to go at Baylor. They got to go at Texas. Maybe is that enough to leapfrog a team like Clemson that's going to be in front of them? That's the thing that you start looking at your TCU, like, can I get ahead of Clemson? And we know we do this week to week. So
I think they're fine. If they stay unbeaten, they're going to find their way into the 4. I firmly believe that. All right, let's look at the top 6 now. And there's probably a little intrigue with Clemson and Alabama, too, because Clemson's resume in terms of who they've beaten, not that great. But at number 6, it is Alabama, which means that Clemson will be in that 5 spot. Now, people get upset about Alabama, but just remember this. If Alabama wins the rest of its games, they're going to be in the playoff. If they lose one, they're not. And if they lose one Saturday, they might not even make the SEC.
But is there reason ahead? But is there reason to be upset when you've seen Alabama very easily could have lost to Texas, could have lost to A&M, got beat by Tennessee? Yes. That's what you're putting at number 6 right now. If we're putting all the body of work together, is that a team worthy of 6?
You cannot look ahead. We got to go
with what we've seen
today. What we've seen. If I'm TCU, not me on the first Tuesday, but if I'm TCU, I'm already thinking what's going on here.
But I think the one thing, I'm not saying that. I'm saying for the people who get upset about where they are. This will take care of itself. It's a good argument if you think that TCU, and it's a reasonable take, should be ranked ahead of Alabama. At number 5, Michigan.
Whoa.
Now, I think all of us expected to see Clemson here.
Okay.
Instead, it's Michigan. Kirk, what's your reaction to that?
Surprised, but you wonder if the non-conference hurt them when it came to separating Clemson and Michigan. Michigan, I think all of us who watch football and like to think we know about the game, we've been very impressed with Michigan compared to losing Ajabo and Hutchinson, losing their coordinators, replacing the quarterback who was returning, and Cade McNamara with J.J. McCarthy and Reese. If anything, they've raised the bar from where they were a year ago. All this is for naught. If they went out there, fine. But it's just interesting to see what the committee thinks.
It's a great point, Kirk. Their strength of schedule was barely in the top 80. I think they had a game canceled with UCLA and filled it in. So their non-conference schedule was basically an exhibition schedule for them prior to the start of Big Ten play. At number 4. And there is Clemson. Clemson goes to Notre Dame this weekend. Tigers have had some near misses too, and they've got a little bit of a quarterback situation.
Yeah, I don't know that they have a situation. The Clemson, probably for the past 2 years, even though they won 10 games last season, they haven't jumped off the screen at you when you watch them. And you're expecting to see an explosive offense that we've seen over the past few years, and we're not seeing that yet. So I can see Clemson being a team that is like, hey, if they win out, they'll be fine, but they're not jumping off the screen at me and make me think, wow, they're a great team.
And that's why I wonder why they're at 4 ahead of Michigan when Michigan's offense jumps off at the screen to me. And the defense has been pretty dang dominant this year too. So interesting.
We knew the 3 teams at the top, almost certainly. The order is fascinating. What can we learn from the committee, at least in the initial rankings, by how they have them stacked up? At number 3. Georgia. deny a 1 versus 2 matchup in terms of now Georgia. Georgia kind of messed around with Kent State,
Missouri.
They got pushed to the end by Missouri, surprisingly, and maybe that's the reason they're paying for it. They do have the big win over Oregon on the resume.
Yeah, the win over Oregon, the win over Florida. 2 times this season, we've seen Georgia have to get up for a game. It's time to go prove something, and they've done that very well. The ones in between, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, national champs from last season, I can see them sleepwalking through those games. Those don't bother me as much.
Happiest guy in the world right now is Kirby Smart. They don't respect us, and here come the Big Orange. Is Tennessee 2 or 1? Who's 2? Ohio State is number 2, and that leaves the Big Orange of Tennessee for the first time, and now this 9th year of the college football playoff that Tennessee has been ranked number 1. Previously, they hadn't even been ranked in the top 15, hadn't been ranked at all in the previous 5 iterations of the college football playoff ranking. So it's Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson are the 4 teams ranked at the top. Josh Heupel's going to join us a little bit later on, and so we'll get his reaction to where he sits atop the rankings right now. So there, it is good on Rocky Top right now for sure. Kirk, you expected Tennessee to be there. Volunteers, do you think they're better than Ohio State or just a better resume at the moment?
Well, for those who think that the rankings don't matter the first week that they're released, did you hear that? Could you hear Knoxville there when you put up Tennessee at number 1? For some folks, they are fired up about it. I think right now, until somebody can stop their offense, and by the way, it's a very interesting topic when you talk to coaches around the country about this offense that originated with Art Briles back with Baylor. There's some that are in awe. There are some that get frustrated with it. There are some that think it's a gimmick. It's interesting. It's not just... Yeah, it's just everybody has the same opinion. It's everybody has a different kind of opinion. The only opinion that matters right now, David, is that they score, and they score in a hurry. And then Hendon Hooker right now has a great feel and has incredible command between the play calling and the execution. That's the thing, Dave, and you can appreciate this. It's not that she's going fast. He doesn't turn the ball over. No. They don't have a lot of penalties. That's fascinating to me to run that offense where the defense can't even get lined up and a quarterback's not making any mistakes. Let's see if that continues this week. But up to this point, that's been the story.
Yeah. That is Kirk Herbstreit. Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson are your top 4. Michigan and Alabama.
Is this the kiss of death for Tennessee, though, right before the game? We'll see. But I agree. I mean, the way nobody covers number 11 and the way Hendon Hooker's playing,
yeah,
I think they can score enough points to beat anybody. When does it...
Did you enjoy Joey Galloway's reaction to Alabama above TCU?
Joey Galloway got his butt beat his last game by Alabama. And no, I enjoy it. It doesn't bother me at all. It's expected. And look, he is physically sick that Ohio State's not number 1.
You want to hear Joey?
Yeah, let's hear Joey.
This has been so good that we act like their defense is just absolutely terrible. And that's not the case. And we've done this before with teams like Oklahoma, where their offense was outstanding, their defense was just absolutely terrible. Tennessee is more of a complete team and a balanced team on the offensive side. You don't normally see that with these teams that are this explosive on offense. Their ability to also be balanced. And I don't think we give that offensive line enough credit for what they've done with Hendon Hooker and protecting him and the way they've been physical when they needed to and running the football. They've been impressive on both sides. It's just their offense is so good. They set the bar so high that it feels like the defense is just non-existent. That's not the case.
Yeah, and they're a lot better against the run than they get credit for. They're going to total defense in terms of number of yards. They're going to give up some because there are a ton of possessions in a Tennessee game, and they've also had big leads in a lot of games too. So here are the resumes of the 3 teams sitting at the top. Strength of
Makes
record,
it easy when you look at the resume.
Now, what does that mean?
Strength of schedule, Tennessee 19th.
Yep.
Ohio State 52nd.
And Georgia 75th.
That was my point the whole time when I was talking the other day. What'd be interesting to see where TCU's strength of schedule is. So
Alabama checks in. It'll be number 6 against number 10 this weekend.
What about LSU? Everybody was writing LSU off.
Game 1 against Florida State.
Well, they look so bad. Really, game they came back and gave it hell. And what was the other team that just Tennessee just beat the dog out of them? Beat the brakes off of them. So,
incidentally, Ole Miss checks in at number 11.
What happened to FSU? I don't even know what their record is. I haven't.
They're not in the top 25.
No, they must have lost 3
So
games.
the rest of the rankings look like this: Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson. That's your top 4, followed by Michigan and Alabama. TCU checks in at number 7. Oregon at number 8. USC, Southern California, is number 9. LSU, 10th. Ole Miss, 11th. UCLA comes in at number 12. Kansas State, number 13. Utah, Penn State, Illinois, the Fighting Bielmas, come in at number 16. North Carolina is number 17.
There's UCF, number 25.
I'm getting there.
Right. Wow.
North Carolina, number 17. Oklahoma State, 18. Tulane, the Green Wave, at number 19. Syracuse, Wake Forest, NC State, Oregon State, Hookham, Texas, and then UCF.
6-2.
6-2. But coming off of a big win over Cincinnati.
So, a lot of teams in this top 25 that hadn't been here in a while, right?
Good to see some new blood.
Kansas State, Tennessee. First
Illinois.
time Tennessee's been in the top 25 for the whole time.
Yeah. And they check in at number 1.
Making a splash, and deservingly so. They deserve to be number 1.
So I do have access to logging into the teleconference, which takes place in about 20 minutes. Is it worth doing? Or do you think we're good with our breakdown coming up here with Brad Edwards?
Let's listen to Brad Edwards.
Indeed. Let's go ahead and take our final timeout right here in hour number 2. We'll be back with Brad Edwards on the other side.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Welcome back. Stan McDonald from the Stanton Law Firm. I had lunch with Lewis just recently and with a client of ours, a mutual client, and great to hear all the good things going on at the Stanton Law Firm.
Thank you, Wes. The Stanton Law Firm, as you know, we've discussed before, we're dirt lawyers. We do a lot of real estate, litigation and closing. And yes, my son Lewis McDonald enjoyed meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of your friends. He is, as you know, he's opened up a commercial closing division. So he's really helping a lot of people who are trying to close, buy, or sell on their commercial property. And he can't be in this community doing business without knowing Wes Neighbors.
I don't know about that, but it sure was getting to meet another McDonald and talking a little bit about his grandfather, Coach Dye, and
Right.
the different things. It was a lot of fun.
Well, your listeners are really going to enjoy meeting Lewis and you in this community. And like I said, at Jacob Title or the Stanton Law Firm, we close business. We close some good commercial closings, residential closings. We appreciate being part of your show.
Hi, I'm Capri, and the little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe is the chicken. They actually put it on the grill, cooked it in the sauce. It's definitely a good grilled spicy sandwich.
Hey, I'm Michelle, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe is it's spicy and it's full of flavor. When you pair that with the Kale Crunch Salad, it's just good.
Order a grilled spicy deluxe sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Hello, this is Kerry Rosenblum, Rosenblum Realty, and we're part of that MA family. It's great to see football season back in. And, we're at Rosenblum Realty trying to take care of all your real estate needs, whether home buying or selling. We'd like for you to put our 64 years of experience to work for you. We have 4-generation family ownership and, again, take a personal touch to taking care of your real estate needs. Call us at 256-539-9501 or rosenblumrealty.com.
Our customers trust us not only to find the right hardware, but to advise them on the technology that makes them more efficient.
My Next Level team researches and discovers real solutions. Check-in software, HR, digital signature, and workflow software. It saves you money immediately. We hold your hand and stay with you through the transition.
We're taking our customers to the next level in business process automation.
The Huntsville Sports Commission, a not-for-profit organization, is driven by the love of sports. November brings some great sporting events to the Rocket City, including the AVCA Fall Collegiate Beach Championships November 4th through 6th, the Gulf South Conference Soccer Championship November 3rd through 6th, and the NCAA Division I Regional Cross Country Championships November 10th and 11th. For the love of sports, the Huntsville Sports Commission. Find out more at huntsvillesports.org.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
Hi, this is Chris Stewart. The quest for a 19th championship starts this fall. Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time. Turn all of the lights on over every boy and every girl.
Obviously a pretty long last segment here, getting full reaction to the very first college football playoff poll. And to help us do that right now, formerly of ESPN and a good friend of the program, Brad Edwards, kind enough to join us. How are you, sir, first and foremost? Are you there, Brad?
I am. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. How have you been?
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing pretty well. It's a little strange going through football season, not working with ESPN and dialed into every minor detail of it, but kind of watching it from a fan's perspective now. It's in some ways is refreshing and probably allows me to see some things that I wouldn't have previously seen because to be quite honest, I'm focused more on the very top teams because I don't have to keep up with all of them. so I'm not doing Pac-12 after dark and all that stuff anymore. I'm watching the teams that I want to see play.
So let's go there then. Is Tennessee better than Ohio State?
Well, it all comes down to what you consider to be the definition of better. That's the way it always has been with the selection committee, and it's been one of the things that I've always had an issue with. I mean, to me, better is who would win if they played each other 10 times. Like, is someone going to win at least 7 out of 10? And if so, that team is better than the other team. That's the way I look at better. To the committee, better starts to involve a bunch of different criteria. And when you consider, there are no conference championships to factor in at this point. We're just, looking at who have you beaten. And the fact that Tennessee's beaten Alabama, and let's be honest, I mean, Tennessee hasn't exactly had a lot of close games outside of them. They've looked really impressive. The Florida game technically came down to the last play, but Tennessee was, if you watch the game, was really in control of it pretty much the whole way. So I think there's a lot there for Tennessee to justify ranking them number one. Certainly having a win over Alabama is far better than whatever Ohio State has. I mean, to me, the bigger one was Georgia being behind Ohio State. And I realized, Georgia had a couple of games there where they looked a little shaky. But if you think Oregon's the 8th best team and Ohio State beat them by 46, I mean, you're not Ohio State. Georgia beat them by 46. Then how do you justify that one? So, I mean, the good news is 1 and 3 are about to play, and some of the others are going to play each other. It's all going to work itself out as it always does, but it's fun to talk about.
Yeah, so, it kind of came into picture when they looked at strength of schedule, and basically the top 3 teams top 4 teams that had were ranked, they were going by strength of schedule. So Tennessee had the toughest strength of schedule, and they're undefeated. I think that's what they did. It became kind of obvious when the ESPN put up the last graphic, right? Ohio State was 58, and Georgia was, 75th? I think it was 75 or 70.
Yeah, 70 strength.
Yeah.
Where I really start to have an issue with the selection committee and the way that they factor schedule strength, which isn't necessarily the way that ESPN is factoring it if you're looking at an ESPN graphic. The selection committee is looking at, like one thing, they're looking at number of wins that you have against their top 25, which, I mean, look, if you're going to use anyone's top 25, certainly you'd use your own. But the other thing is they start, kind of differentiating between teams based on what their records are. So they're looking, how many wins do you have over teams that are above 500? Which at this stage, I mean, that could be 4 and 3. Meanwhile, someone else is 3 and 4. And so, in other words, beating a 4 and 3 team is good. Beating a 3 and 4 team is not. How many 4 and 3 teams out there right now would lose to teams that are 3 and 4? I mean, just your record's a product of who you played, in the order that you had to play those games. So I look at Ohio State and who they've played to this point, and it's basically Notre Dame and Penn State, and that's really all I see there. And in neither game did they really impress you. They both of those were midway through the fourth quarter were still in doubt, and Ohio State pulled away very late. So I'm not sure that I have been as impressed by Ohio State against the best teams they've played as I have by Georgia. I mean, the games that Georgia sleptwalked through were against weaker competition. Now, I mean, that makes it, to some degree less excusable to have games that are in doubt in the fourth quarter against, Kent State or whoever it was and Missouri. Yeah. But when the lights have come on and someone has suggested that Georgia could get a challenge, they've wiped those teams up pretty easily. And then that to me is what's significant. That to me tells me how good you are, not whether you just fell asleep at some point. It's like when the bell rings, are you ready to fight? And I don't know. I've been more impressed with Georgia than Ohio State, but at this point, like I said, it makes no difference because these top 3 will all be in a different order next week.
No doubt about that. Talking with Brad Edwards right now in the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline and taking a look at Alabama. Well, what is your early impressions? Why I say early, but what have you seen out of Alabama so far this year?
I think I probably see the same thing the selection committee does. Like on one hand, you look at Michigan and you say, well, who is Michigan beat? Like, who they played? Like, you could certainly justify ranking a one-loss Alabama team over an undefeated Michigan. But if you're really paying close attention to Alabama, we'll just take Michigan out of the equation, forget what they've done. But just looking at Alabama, there are plenty of legitimate questions to ask about how good is this team, because 2 of the games they won, they very easily could have lost. And while Texas does sit there at number 24 in the committee's rankings, obviously A&M is nowhere close to the committee's rankings, and those are the 2 teams they easily could have lost to, in addition to Tennessee. And I'm I think the thing that's disappointing to me about Alabama, and I realize, look, if Bryce Young plays, the A&M game probably isn't close. It was a product of playing with a backup quarterback, and they won the game, which is what was important. They moved on. But when I look at Alabama, and especially when I look at them on the road, I see last year's Alabama team. It's the same old stuff, and that's disappointing because I know that Saban caught a lot of flack for saying that last year's team was in rebuilding mode. When they took the lead in the fourth quarter of the national championship game, and he was saying that last year was a rebuild. But he was absolutely right. When you look at what they had lost in the year before, they had so much to replace that if there was ever a year you were rebuilding and not reloading at Alabama, last year would have been it. And then you look at what was coming back from last year's team outside of receiver. I mean, pretty much every important piece was back, and there was no reason to think that this year's team shouldn't be better than last year's. But so far, I see the same team. I see a lot of the same issues, and given that number 10 and number 11 in the committee rankings are Alabama's next two games, and both are on the road, and you consider what they've previously done on the road against Texas and Tennessee, and I mean even the Arkansas game shouldn't have been close in the second half, but it became close. So I just whatever the it factor is that Alabama used to have, it doesn't exist anymore. It's not there with this year's team. It wasn't there with last year's team. Now that said, last year's team still was a quarter away from winning the national championship game. So it's not like this team isn't good enough to win the whole thing, but they're just not consistent the way that we're used to seeing them be in previous seasons. And I don't know. I mean, it's good for entertainment value. I guess I'll say that.
Well, there's no question they're not near as dominant. I agree with that, but they easily could have won the Tennessee game. I mean, right?
Somebody makes a kick, somebody misses a kick, and the whole world is different.
Interference penalty at the end that was kind of suspect. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of. I mean, yeah, they could be easily undefeated at number one right now. Also,
No, that's true. But here's the thing for me. Even if they were undefeated and number one right now, would you feel a whole lot different about their vulnerability? I mean, sure, they would have a cushion, going into these next 2 weeks where they could conceivably lose to either LSU or Ole Miss, still win the West, and have a shot to make the playoff, and that margin for error is gone. But aside from that, would you really feel any more confident in this team if they had found a way to win against Tennessee, whether that had been in overtime or making that field goal at the end?
Well, I'll tell you, they'd be in a lot better position because if Ole Miss or LSU wins, they're in the driver's seat now. If they beat Alabama, they're in the driver's seat, and they would have to lose a game for Alabama to be able to I don't even think even if they lost, they're out. Alabama would be out because they would have to lose 2 games apiece, which is highly unlikely that would happen. So no, I agree with what you're saying. It'd be interesting to me because a lot of times during the seasons and in the past, when Alabama had lost to Ole Miss twice, people wrote them off.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And they got back in it.
Yeah.
They got better after the
bye week.
The bye week. That's when Coach Saban, they seem to put it together. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to put it together. I have my questions too, because to me the question is, are they playing the right guys on the offensive line? One thing, they did replace 3 guys that all got drafted into the NFL from last year's team. And then they lost a couple of second stringers, went to other schools that are now starting at those schools. So they've lost a lot of, I think, continuity on the offensive line. And to me, they're starting the wrong guy at center. That's me. And then you look at the secondary, been suspect in certain games. The pass rush sometimes just disappears for whatever reason. and the receivers have been inconsistent at best.
Yeah.
If the receivers just can get where they'll quit dropping the ball and run the right routes with Alabama's quarterback, I think they can go a lot. They can win these games. Now, can they beat Georgia or Tennessee in the playoffs? I'm not sure.
Well, so I mean, the way I see this team is I'm with you. Like, I'm concerned about them on the road because whatever mental fortitude or whatever it is psychologically that makes a team great in front of an opponent's home crowd, this team doesn't have. They didn't have it last year either. But they're still good enough to win those games, obviously. And if they can just get past these next two, I feel like if there are no more crowds they have to deal with, once they get to Atlanta, I mean, look, if they could beat last year's Georgia team, they could certainly beat this year's Georgia team, and they can certainly beat Tennessee again. I mean, you look at all the things that had to go right for Tennessee in that game in Knoxville. To me, their chances of beating Alabama again, I'm not going to say they're close to zero because they would still score a lot of points, but I certainly like Alabama if they play Tennessee a second time. And then you get to the playoff, and I still like Alabama against anybody else that you would throw against them outside of the SEC except Ohio State. But Ohio State's not so much better than them that they can't beat them on a given day, just as they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game last year. I mean, there's not a game out there on a neutral field where Alabama should be a considerable underdog. I mean, I wouldn't think they'd be an underdog by much more than a field goal against anyone on a neutral field. And so it's really just these next 2 weeks. Can they get through those? And if they can, I think they've got as good of a shot of winning it all as they had last year.
Well, Brad, the one thing that this committee at least has told me with Bama above TCU, I realize this is just the first rankings, is that there is a definite path potentially to 3 SEC teams playing in the playoff.
That one is interesting. I still have a hard time with seeing 3, but I can certainly see 2. The reason I have a hard time seeing 3 is because Clemson would need to have the bottom fall out. I mean, you figure
Correct.
Either Ohio State or Michigan is going to get one of the spots. So the SEC champ is in, the Big Ten champ is in, and unless Clemson does a face plant down the stretch, Clemson's going to be the 3rd team. And it really is just a question of, is it going to be a second SEC team, or will it be a team from the Big 12 or the Pac-12? And I tell you that here's the one. I don't know if you've already talked about this in the previous segment or in previous days, but the one that I really want to see the committee have to deal with, and we go through this every year, right? When these things come out for the first time, here's the scenario that I want them to deal with the first week of December. I want Georgia to lose one game, and I don't care if it's to Tennessee this weekend or if it's in the SEC championship, but I want Georgia to lose one game, not be the SEC champion. And I want to hear all of the mental gymnastics going on by people around the country trying to somehow justify a one-loss Oregon as the Pac-12 champion being better than Georgia and deserving to get into the playoff ahead of a team that has the same number of losses as them that beat them by 46.
1,000%. 1,000%.
There will be people who will say Oregon should be in instead of Georgia if that happens.
So here's my scenario, all right? 3 teams. I said it a long time ago, too, before it was popular. Tennessee loses in a very close game at Georgia. Georgia goes to the SEC championship undefeated. Alabama faces Georgia in the Atlanta with one loss to Tennessee. Alabama barely beats Georgia. Your scenario, Oregon wins the Pac-12, TCU loses a game, Clemson loses a game. There are 3 teams from the SEC going to the show.
I'm not so sure that Clemson is out. If Clemson's one loss is the ACC championship game, then yes. If Clemson loses, let's say they lose to Notre Dame, and then they win the ACC. See, here's the thing. The committee, they're always going to be able to justify putting a conference champion in because they're going to rank enough teams out of every conference in order for a conference champion to have enough so-called quality wins to justify putting them into the playoff. Like, I mean, you can already see it. Like look down there, and you have Clemson, with wins over Wake and NC State. They're at the back end of the top 25, and neither of those teams is in the top 20 at the moment. But as long as they don't fall apart, the committee will keep bumping them up, and they'll use something like that to justify putting Clemson in. So. I think the committee will reward, one-loss conference champions if they have a couple of ranked wins under their belt, especially overtaking a third team from the SEC. A second team maybe is a little bit different question, but a third team, it seems to me the only way that they would ever take three teams from one conference is if it was just so obvious that they had no other choice.
Brad, always great insight, sir. And it's great to get you on as always, and we look forward to talking with you down the road.
I look forward to it, too. It's fun to talk. I haven't talked a lot of college football this year, believe it or not. So it's fun to get on the air and do.
Glad to have you.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad Edwards joining us as the first college football playoff committee poll is out. Tennessee 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4. I am currently...
I wish y'all could have been in the room.
This is the teleconference.
The debate over the top 25 rankings were extensive and very animated, particularly at the top. Case was made for Ohio State to be number one, for Georgia, and for Tennessee. And there were good arguments for each one of the schools. At the end of the debate, the committee voted Tennessee number one because of their impressive road win at LSU and their victory over Alabama. And Alabama is a team that the committee respects highly. Ohio State is a powerful offense and a very solid defense. Impressive win last week over Penn State. Georgia's been dominant this season, which has been plain to see, in particular the win over Oregon at the start of the season. But Tennessee's two wins against those two strong opponents really made a difference. As a reminder, the committee begins with no presumptions. Last year's record doesn't matter. The conference teams play in does not matter. We don't look at the polls. Our protocol is we consider teams' records, their strength of schedule, their head-to-head matchups, and the results of common opponents. The committee members make their rankings based on subjective expert college football judgment. They watch games. They have a wealth of data and statistics available, and the committee debates it all. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take your questions.
This is...
Thank you, Boo.
Boo Corrigan.
We'll now turn the call back over to Paul, the operator, to begin the question and answer segment of the
Mr. Corrigan is the selection committee chair. He's in his first year.
Please press star 1 on your telephone keypad now. You'll be placed into the queue in the order received. Please be prepared to ask your question when prompted. Once again, if you have a question, please press star 1 on your phone now.
We are just listening in on the teleconference that is taking place after the committee's first
and our first question comes
selection
from Trevor Groves. Your line is open.
Hi, Boo. Thanks for doing this, and it's good to talk to you for the first time. Just wanted to ask about Clemson being ranked number 4. That will surprise a lot of folks. ESPN's already voiced their surprise about that. But I believe the Tigers are number 4 strength of record with 3 ranked wins versus only 1 ranked win for Michigan and Ohio State. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But I wanted to ask you, I know the committee is supposed to consider and take into account injuries. How much do you discuss and will you continue to consider going forward the fact that Clemson beat NC State before Dennis Leary got hurt? Also, same with Syracuse. Schrader, as you know, was injured in the Notre Dame game the following week. But as an NC State AD, I'm sure you're aware that was the Wolfpack were a legitimate top 10 team at the time that Clemson beat them, regardless of what how they finished the season down the stretch. How much will you consider that as a part of the Tigers' resume?
Yeah, Trevor, thank you for the question. Injuries that do occur are part of the discussion. We don't project anything forward, but we deal with exactly the people that were on the field during the game. So, again, to that point, if you're looking at a team that is at full strength and then loses someone later, you need to judge them on the men that were on the field at the time, during the game, and when the game was played.
Thanks, Boo.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Nicole Auerbach. Your line is open.
Yeah, thanks, Boo. My question is something you said during the television interview as you were talking about the committee liking balanced teams. Some of the teams in the top are very balanced, and others, maybe Tennessee is a good example of that, is not as balanced as some of the others. Why does balance matter to the committee as something you're looking for?
I think what we're looking at is the game itself and the dominance that can occur in the game with one side of the ball or the other. But overall, as we're looking at it, Nicole, really what we're looking at is statistically where they are, the football judgment of the committee to look at each team as they're playing. How do they handle unique situations from a Tennessee standpoint? You look at the LSU game and you look at the Kentucky game and the defensive effort by them in that game. I think that really stood out to the committee as we're looking at that. And, again, TCU's had a number of games that they've played where they really have had to come from behind. Timely defense, I think, is what we have talked about in the room, but that as far as that dominant standpoint or that ability to dominate that side of one side of the ball or the other is really what was lacking.
Your hand has been raised.
Our next question comes from Nathan Beard. Your line is open.
Hi, I had a question about the two Big Ten teams that are at the relative top of your rankings. And I know you maybe didn't compare Ohio State and Michigan too much head-to-head, I guess, if they were 2 and 5, but both with similar resumes. The one ranked win over Penn State, both with a lot of comfortable wins this year. Can you explain why there's such a disparity in where those two teams are ranked right now?
I would say that the disparity is not that great in what we're doing with the rankings themselves. So that may be a little bit of a misnomer. But when we looked at Ohio State, the explosiveness of their offense, averaging 49 points a game, winning games by an average of 32 points, I think that really stood out to the committee, like Michigan a lot. As a committee, more workmanlike, controlling their opponent. But again, I think there's a weaker non-conference schedule that was talked about before, and that was a part of the determination.
We have a question from David Ubben. Your line is open.
Yeah, Boo, how would you describe the size of the gaps in the room between 1, 2, and 3?
Lively discussion. We made sure we went through and had advocates for each team to make sure that we were debating all the points of it, but in terms of specifics on what the anything about it was. I mean, those were the three teams that separated themselves as time went on in the meeting yesterday, and we spent a great deal of time making sure that we got 1, 2, and 3 right. with the 2 wins by Tennessee being the determining factor.
And our next question comes from Mike Griffith. Your line is open.
Thanks, Boo. I wanted to ask about common opponents. We see that Georgia and Tennessee have both played Florida, Tennessee playing Florida at home, and Georgia recently winning more impressively at a neutral site over Florida. How do you factor in the transitive property, I guess, of them having a common opponent?
Yeah, I think it is part of our discussion as we go through it every week, and we make sure that we're guided by those principles overall. But as we looked at it, we saw the wins by Tennessee over Alabama and over LSU, even with Georgia's dominant win over Oregon, as being that much more to put them over the top.
And as a reminder, if you do have a question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. And our next question comes from Blake Topmeyer. Your line is open.
Hi, Boo. Good to talk to you. Question about TCU. TCU has 2 wins against teams in your top 18, and Alabama has no wins against teams in your top 20, plus a loss. What's the rationale for having Alabama ahead of TCU? And also, you've mentioned a couple times about TCU falling behind in games. How much stock is put into scores at the end of like the first quarter and the second quarter?
We're looking at the totality of the game as we go through it. But again, you're looking for that. Alabama's got the dominant wins over Mississippi State, at Arkansas, the close win at Texas. Bryce Young missed the Texas A&M game, which was close, and again TCU with the wins against Oklahoma State at home and Kansas State at home. Really good wins, really good team, but we felt like the defense struggled to keep points off the board at times, but it doesn't take away from the season they've had thus far.
And we have a question from David Teal. Your line is open.
Boo, good evening. Was it your sense of the room that what propelled Clemson into the top 4 were those ranked wins over NC State, Syracuse, and Wake Forest, and 4 road wins, as opposed to, I think Michigan has only 2 road wins?
I think the collective of the group, David, is what it really is. It's not about reading the room or anything else, but as we go through it, and as we talked about, certainly the wins, at Wake, at Florida State, over NC State, over Syracuse, really did push them over the top. But again, there's 240 plus games still to be played this year. And there's a lot of really good football in front of us.
Our next question comes from Bill Rabinowitz. Your line is open.
Hi, Boo. You mentioned Ohio State's explosive offense, and I think you said their defense was solid. I'd like to get a little more detail about what the committee thinks about Ohio State's defense, and how close was the discussion between Ohio State and Tennessee for number 1?
Again, I'll go back to, there's a lot of really good football teams. There's a lot of really robust conversation going on. Ohio State's given up 17 points a game, and scoring 44 points in their last 7 games. So again, it's a well-balanced team, and as we look at it, it was something that, as a group, in the collective 13, really felt good about. Ohio State, but again, felt those 2 big wins by Tennessee is what ultimately carried the day.
And we have a question from Aaron McMahon. Your line is open.
Boo, you kind of touched on it earlier, but I'm wondering what the committee thinks of Michigan's resume and maybe what's keeping them out of the top four.
Well, I think they're right there, Aaron. In a larger picture, the signature win against Penn State, a well-balanced team. But at the end of it, when you look at that strength of schedule, it is something that we do talk about as one of the principles that guides us. And at this point in time, again, after week 9, we felt they were right in the number 5 position.
And our next question comes from Chip Towers. Your line is open.
Yeah, Boo, thanks for doing this. Just wondering, specifically what was the most vigorous debate about where you settled on Georgia? And, hearing you talk a lot about balance, most of the teams that ended up at the top aren't at the top of the nation when it comes to defensive play, while Georgia and a couple others are. So is that what you mean about balance, being good on both sides of the ball, or what exactly was that vigorous debate that you referred to?
Yeah, I think it is what you said, right? I mean, it is about being good on both sides of the ball. Georgia is an exceedingly solid team that the committee really likes and felt good about who they are. Obviously, the dominant win at the beginning of the season against Oregon turned a lot of heads. Their defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in the first quarter, which was part of our discussion as we're going through everything in the room. But again, there's a lot of really good teams at the top of the rankings right now, and where we are after week 9. And again, I hate to sound repetitive, but there's more games to be played.
And our next question comes from Heather Dinich. Your line is open.
Hey, Boo, you mentioned earlier that there were advocates for each of those 3 teams, Ohio State, Tennessee, and Georgia. I'm wondering, how exactly does that play out? Did that happen this week only because it was so close? Has that happened in the past? What is that like?
Well, again, as we go into the room, Heather, I mean, different people have different rankings. And as we're going through it, our goal is to come to a consensus and come to an agreement on where we are as a group. This isn't a force of personality or anything like that in the room. It really is about making sure that everyone in the room has an opportunity to speak and advocate for what they believe, and ultimately just to come to a collective decision on where we are as a group.
Okay, maybe I'm.
And our next question comes from Adam Sparks. Your line is open.
Yeah, Boo. I'm wondering about what the committee's consideration is to close losses on the road to other top 10 teams. The obvious example is Alabama to Tennessee, but what kind of consideration are so-called good losses?
Well, I don't know that we talk specifically about good losses. Obviously, we're focused primarily on wins as we go through this, but to be able to play the game as late as they did into the game in a last-second field goal against, from a Tennessee standpoint, against Alabama to win it that way. Again, it's not a win in that sense, but again, it is a very competitive game, a well-played, a high-level game that's played. So, as we're looking at everything that we do, wins obviously trump what we're doing. But, as we look at a loss, we're going to look at everything about it.
And our next question comes from David Hood. Your line is open.
That is a little bit of the teleconference there for the College Football Playoff Committee. again, the rankings just to close things out. You can go ahead and hit the music. Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson is your top 4, followed by Michigan and Alabama. TCU, Oregon, Southern California, and LSU round out the top 10. The other SEC squads, Ole Miss at 11. And that's it. World Series game number 3 just underway. Already 1 out in the top of the first. It's scoreless between the Astros and the Phillies in a series that's tied at 1 game apiece. Boog Shambi has the play-by-play call, and he's up next.